We call this building the legal foundation. And again, in your handouts, over on page 3, you'll see number 16, building your legal foundation. All legal documents are not the same. Very true. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, and feel free to make some notes on this, it'll help you later. This legal foundation is these documents right here. Financial as well as medical powers of attorney. So just to make sure that we're all on the right page, what is a power of attorney? So if I set up, let's say a financial power of attorney, if I set one of those up, I'm called the principal. Kathy, my wife, she's my agent. So if something happens to me, she can act for me. Under the financial power, she can pay bills, write checks, do those kinds of things. But what if we're in an accident together? Well, then we have a backup, a successor. So if neither of us are able to do those things, then Tristan, our eldest son, he would step in as a successor. So that's how a power of attorney works. And as I say, we have financial as well as healthcare directives. They're called many different things. You'll hear medical power of attorney, you'll hear medical directive, advanced medical directive, but that's all the same thing. That's talking about your medical documents and then either a will or a trust. Okay, so financial power. In Virginia, this is particularly important because what Virginia law says is the agent, wife, child, whoever it may be, the agent can only do what is the authority that is given them specifically in the power of attorney. So if we want to shift assets around, if we want to do Medicaid planning, we might want to do gifting later on, we have to give the agent that authority in the financial power of attorney. And our financial powers of attorney run, sometimes we come in, someone says, yeah, I have a power of attorney, I pulled it off the internet, it was free. It's a paragraph. Well, this is one of those situations where you get what you pay for. Our financial power of attorney runs to 20 plus pages, not because, more words are necessarily better, but we cover all these different scenarios there. Is every person that we see going to use all 20 pages? No, of course not. But if you ever do need it, that language is in there for you to use. What about real estate? What if you downsize, you sell a home, want to buy a new home, but you're not able to sign those closing papers yourself? Agent needs to be given the authority in the document to do that. Same with taxes, Social Security. The IRS won't talk to you unless you have a document that says, I authorize my agent to talk to the IRS about my income taxes for the years 2000 through 2050. Otherwise, they won't talk to you. So that's the financial power, very important. Next one is healthcare. So there's two parts to that. The first part is the medical power of attorney. Who do you want to make the medical decisions for you? My wife, my son, my niece, my nephew, whoever it may be. That's the first part, is the medical power, and then the second part is the living will. So there's the who and then the what. And the living will is, anyone remember the Terry Schiavo case? Remember that? She was down in Florida, she was young, so she didn't expect this to happen, but she didn't have this in writing. Ended up, she was on a life support machine, a feeding tube. Her husband said she wouldn't want to live like this, let's take her off. Her parents said no, we don't believe in that. So what did they do? They went to court, battling back and forth between the husband and the parents. I think it went all the way up to the Florida Supreme Court. The governor got involved at one point. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees because of what is really a very simple Relatively simple document to have in place, but it's important that you do have that in writing and you have that conversation with your family ahead of time. You know, if someone's on life support, that's a stressful enough, we went through this with my father-in-law, stressful enough situation it is already without adding the extra stress of what would Dad want? You know, when and how would he want this life support removed? If you've already had that conversation ahead of time with your family, you're doing them a huge service. And then the other part, personal care plan, what are your medical wishes if you're not able to speak yourself? The last one, HIPAA. What's HIPAA? If you ever go into a doctor's office or a hospital, what's the first thing they say? Please sign this release. That's called a HIPAA release. It's a release of medical records. The context here is this is for your family. So whoever is making your medical decisions for you, you want that person to have access to your medical records. Because of privacy laws, because of HIPAA, you have to sign this release, and that's part of the documents we prepare so the family can get access to your medical records.